And good evening, everybody. Happy, I guess it's a Thursday night here on the East Coast of the United States. My name is Chris Doyle. I am the director of 5E development and design for Goodman Games. And I'd like to welcome you again to another show of what's coming down the 5E Pike from Goodman Games. We have a bunch. This is going to be a little bit different show than normal. If you've followed this show before, we typically have a guest, and half of the show is kind of announcements and status updates on where the projects are at, and then half of the show is interviewing one of our guests about one of the projects that they've worked on or several of the projects they've worked on. This is going to be a little bit different than that. I do not have a guest tonight, but instead we are going to do a flip through of the two volumes of the compendiums of dungeon crawls, I guess the compendium of dungeon crawls, that are literally being shipped right now from our warehouse to our backers, and then also will be in stores very shortly. So that will be the second half of the show. So we're going to start off with some announcements and some updates, and I was going to show you lots of pictures of things to show you that the books really exist, even though you might not have them yet. That it's all real, it's all happening. So the first thing I want to talk about is so obviously this is a 5e show. We obviously everything that I do at Goodman Games is on the quote unquote 5e side of the house. So I felt like it was important to actually make a couple of statements. First of all, about Wizards of the Coast, and the sad day that they had just before the holidays when numerous folks at Hasbro slash Wizards of the Coast were laid off. We knew a lot of those people. We've worked with a lot of the people that did actually end up losing their jobs. That sucks. It's a harsh reality of big business these days. But we did want to kind of acknowledge that we're in their corner rooting for them. And hopefully they land on their feet. I'm pretty sure that they're going to land on their feet. I think folks know the tabletop RPG space right now is pretty healthy. And I'm sure that there's those very talented folks are going to probably be okay. But it still sucks. And hey, maybe in this, here's a little bit of a silver lining. Remote working is so much more accepted these days. Maybe they won't have to move. So here's hoping and wishing for them. We're thinking about them because we're all in this industry, and and certainly what happens to Wizards of the Coast does tend to affect all the other little companies. On that note, I do want to kind of make a broad statement about 5e and kind of our kind of plan for 5e for 2024. As folks know, it is the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons this year. Actually, I believe it was this past weekend. I think was one of the official was the official date, or as close as they could say was the official date when the first box set was sold. So yay, congratulations for that. And a lot of folks are asking us what's going on with the whole OGL debacle last year, and with Wizards of the Coast rolling out the 2024 version of D&D later this year. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave Goodman Games? What's our direction? Well, I'm here to tell you I'm still here. I'm over the airwaves, so I'm not going anywhere that I know about. We are still dedicated to putting out high quality 5e products. Everything we have heard from Wizards of the Coast, which I'm sure if you're following things you've heard as well, D&D 1 or D&D 6th edition, whatever you want to call it, is going to be backwards compatible with 2014's 5e D&D. So we have not heard anything directly from the company. They have, obviously, at Wizards of the Coast, they have a lot of things going on between the OGL drama last year and rolling out 3 new core books, and then the layoffs that happened just a month ago. There's obviously a lot on their plate. So they haven't actually started reaching out to us yet. We don't know if they're reaching out to other publishers about things, but we are going to go on the premise that we have been for the last like year or 2 years. We're just going to keep making 5e books. Until something changes, until there's a new SRD, or there's a new, something, we're just going to keep going on the premise that, 5e is going to be backwards compatible, whatever they do. As soon as we start talking to them, we will shift accordingly. We fully anticipate that at some point this year, we will probably shift gears, and that might, put things behind the 8 ball or whatnot. We don't know. That's going to be exciting. But it's going to be an exciting year. It's a year to take a breath and celebrate D&D's 50th anniversary. I think GaryCon's going to be very special this year, kind of the birthplace of D&D. I'm looking forward to attending, so we'll see how it goes. So we'll take this journey together, but this is probably the best show to find all of your latest information on what our 5e plans are moving forward. So definitely tune in. So let's go to updates on products. So let's first talk about OAR number 7, Dark Tower. All right, so another thing. So obviously a few weeks ago we had the sad news that Janelle Jacquez passed away. Obviously that affected us at Goodman Games, probably more than most folks in the RPG industry. I mean, she touched so many people in the RPG industry, but we were working directly with her for with Dark Tower and our upcoming Caverns of Thracia. So, and it's a shame that she didn't get to share in actually seeing that final product. But I am here to say that those books are on the boat. And they are coming their way. They haven't, I don't think they've hit the United States yet, but they are going to all the different hubs that we use for shipping everything. So things are happening. I do have some pictures. Elena, if you want to pop up the first picture, Dark Tower, all the stuff. So again, we understand we're behind on this one, but I guess this first picture kind of shows why we're behind on this one. Look at all that pile of stuff. I mean, that is not just one book. I mean, that is, and got to keep in mind, folks, there's a DCC version of this and a 5e version of this. All told, is well over 600 pages of material for each rule set. So it's like 1,200 pages of material, and all that material needs to be written. It needs to be converted. It needs to be edited. It needs to be laid out. It needs to be proofed, artwork, etc. The whole 9 yards. Yeah, we can't help ourselves with these projects. We they take a life of their own, and we just always want to go bigger and bigger. If you guys have OAR number 6, and see how spectacular and how huge that slipcase edition is. This is even bigger. And might actually even be better. It's got a poster map, which I'm really excited about. It's got the supplement products. If you want to pull up the next picture, Elena, this is going to be all the 5e books that come in the slipcase edition. So we have volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. And so you can see that's the brown in the back there. That's the actual slipcase, and then you can see the light colored book is volume 1, the gray book is volume 2, and then the red book is volume 3. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those. Elena, when you get a chance, you can throw up image number 3, which is Dark Tower volume 1. So this is the classic reprint of Dark Tower. So I know we've done this before on a soft cover, but this is in a hardcover. And we've included the essays that we typically do at the beginning of the OAR books. We've put them in this book because we do realize that there probably are some folks out there that might just want to grab a copy of the reprint and the essays. So at some point, I'm pretty sure that will be made available so that you don't have to buy the whole box set if you just want to get that book. I'm not sure when that's going to be. We have to fulfill all of the I think it's 4,500 backers first, and before we get to that. So this is the thinnest of the 3 books. It comes in at about 100 pages, something in that area, 112 pages, something like that. So this is the reprint, and then the essays in there, and it's obviously got the classic artwork on the front and that green color that was kind of used for the original. Elena, if you want to pull up image number 4, this is volume 2 of Dark Tower. This is the gray one. So this is the 5e conversion of the original adventure. So the original adventure was 80 pages long. This is the full out conversion of all 4 dungeon levels, and then the village, and then also the surrounding area. And then this has actually some of the stretch goals are actually in here as well. The additional wilderness encounters are in here. We've got an additional dungeon in here. We've got our Gazetteer of the Lost Lands in here. We've got our poster map in here. So we've got a bunch of extra goodies in here, plus all of the NPCs statted out and the new monsters. This is a chunky book. I believe, I'm just going off the top of my head here, don't hold me to this. I think this is like a 300 and some odd page book. I believe it's something 320, 350, something like that. So this is a very chunky book. And then I think I have, if we want to pop up the next picture, Elena, number 5, this is the interior. This is just one of the interior spreads of it. This is actually the one new dungeon, the Dungeon of the Sphinx, which you can see on the map here on the left-hand side. And you can see the bookmark is kind of sprawled out over there, and we've got a piece of artwork and all that in there. I know it's kind of hard to see some of the details, but like I said, it's close, folks. Just a couple more, hopefully, weeks, and then these are going to be getting hit and land, and then they're going to be arriving. Elena, you can pull up the next image, number 6. This is volume 3, the cover. So this is, again, awesome, brand new artwork by San Julian on this one as well. This is volume 3. This is the Chosen Sons of Set. So this is one of the examples of us kind of going a little crazy on this, where we came up with this idea of, we wanted to do 3 additional adventures kind of based around the Sons of Set. There's 4 chosen Sons of Set that Set uses that are kind of his right-hand lieutenants, and one of them is encountered in Dark Tower, and we decided to create the other 3 and then create an adventure around each of them, where the party can go track them down and actually defeat them, and truly, deliver a death blow to Set and his followers. So these are all new adventures, and this book is, I wish I should have wrote down how many pages it is. I think this book comes in somewhere around, I'm going to say, probably 150 to 175 pages, somewhere in that general area. But like I said, all brand new adventures. They're all set throughout what we call the Lost Lands, which is kind of the Dark Tower setting that we're using. So we're pretty excited about these adventures and all the additional adventuring that you'll be able to do using this set. And then if you want to call up the next image, Elena, number 7, this is the interior of that book, also with the bookmark there. You can see the bright red bookmark. And then you can see there's one of the maps of one of the temples, I believe it is, and then some cool artwork over there. I think that's William's artwork. I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of small where I'm looking at. So Dark Tower is coming. We're almost at the end of a very, very long journey, and we're very excited about that. So hopefully, if you guys didn't get a chance to grab it during the crowdfunding, we will eventually have them for sale on our web store, and also they will be at friendly local game stores. Obviously, as always, we would prefer you to go pick it up at one of your friendly local game stores, or ask them to get it from us, because it's always great to support the local game shops. So, all right, our next main update is going to be Dungeon Denizens, another one, sadly, that we're a little bit behind on. But again, because we're kind of going crazy on it, and that's just what we do. So the 5e books are almost out of layout. They're in what we call the proofing stage. So the book is, for the most part, been completely laid out. There's a couple little chapters, and the back stuff hasn't been done yet. But right now, the team is going through all of those layout pages, 600 plus of them, and that's just the main book. There's additional books as well, and other products that we're also going through. And we're making sure everything looks good. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is the first time we've done a monster book, and we want the monster book to look amazing. So we're taking a little extra time to make it look amazing. So hopefully you kind of bear with us on that. It is, like I said, it's just a long, tedious process. There's really no way to make it go quicker. But I do have a couple of sample pages that I'd like to show off to everybody. If Elena, you can call up image number 8. This is the Crystal Method. You can take a look at that. So you can see, so the 5e stat boxes are sprawling, to put it nicely. Nothing like the DCC ones. So for the most part, every monster gets its own page. And that artwork is kind of nestled in there somewhere. Depending on how long the lore text is and the stat box is kind of going to generate, it's going to determine kind of how big that how big that artwork's actually going to end up being. This is not final. All these pages I'm showing you are not final. Actually, I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's actually a mistake in this on this page, and I challenge you to find it. And if you do find it, put it in the chat. But anyway, it's not a glaring mistake. It's actually kind of a hidden mistake, but there's something in there that needs to get fixed, and that's exactly an example of what we're looking at. So I do have a few more pages. Elena, if you want to call up the next one, this is the Rust Spider. I love this guy. This guy was actually created back in the third edition days um for the Dungeon Crawl Classics third edition adventures. Essentially, it's a spider, but it's also a rust monster, and its webs. If you touch its webs, they actually will turn things to rust as well. I love this. The simple little thing. Everybody knows the rust monster. It's so classic. But then put it in a spider form, and it just kind of confuses people and everything. And to be honest with you, this creature design from way back, about 20 years, or maybe not quite 20 years at this point, is probably one of the inspirations for why we decided to do a monster book, to be honest with you, because of these cool designs that we have in our old catalog, in addition to all the new cool things. So that is the Rust Spider coming at you live there. I think we're going to pull up the next page. If you can pull up number 10, this is the sample page for the Stalking Sludge. So there you can see this one's kind of got a pretty extended stat box here that takes up actually about a page and a half. And then we've got a nice little pull quote there from one of our NPCs. And like I said, these are not final. We're probably going to be doing something different with these quotes, but that's kind of a placeholder for it. We're probably going to make that quote look a little bit cooler. But you can see the really awesome artwork, and then everything else that kind of spills around it. And then I have one more sample page to show you. This is sample number 11 from Dungeon Denizens. This is the Tangle Ankle Jelly. I love this guy. If folks who have played third edition remember the Tanglefoot bags, so we kind of took the Tanglefoot bags and put them in an ooze form, if you will, a jelly form, if you will. And I think that artwork kind of it says it all. Basically, it kind of it's a ooze that basically glues you in space, and then it just whacks you with its pseudopods and starts trying to dissolve you. So it's a really cool design. One of our actually freelance designers actually came up with it, and we kind of ran with it, and we kind of had some fun with it on the design side after we got the original. So that is a few samples of Dungeon Denizens, and we are still working. Oh, actually, I've got more cool stuff to show you. So part of the Dungeon Denizens product we're doing is the two-page Dungeon Delves. So this is a product that goes with Dungeon Denizens, and this is basically two-page adventures, little short adventures, probably 3 to 5, 3 to 6 adventure locations, a map, a piece of artwork, and then the adventure. And the cool thing about these is they're what we're calling kind of like system neutral. There's no stats in here, but you do need a copy of Dungeon Denizens if you want to utilize the book, because that's where you're going to find the monster stats. So the monsters are either in all the core books, the DCC core rule book, or in the core 5e book. But all the other stats that we pull them from is from Dungeon Denizens. And if you want to pull up image number 12, the interior for Tears of the Goddess. So if you actually end up being the developer of a particular line, you get to show off your adventures. So I picked one of my adventures, and this is Tears of the Goddess. So this is exactly what the two-page delves look like. So you can see we've got our piece of artwork there on the left. We've got our map on the upper right there, and then we actually have the advantage. There happens to be 4 locations here, the interior of a statue, and this one features a brine elemental, armadwars, which are the armadillo humanoids, giant armadillos, and archer cacti, and all of those monsters are in Dungeon Denizens, and they all kind of, we've pieced them together and made a whole adventure around them. So that is one of the sample pages for that. And this book is completely laid out and proofed, and I'm pretty sure we've got the cover for this. So this book is pretty much done and ready to go. There might be a couple little things. Actually, I think there's a few little pieces of artwork we're waiting to plug in. But for this, it's not like we're spilling it around any of the text like we are for the monsters. So it's actually pretty easy just to drop those last few pieces of artwork in and everything. Our next piece, Elena, if you can pull it up, is number 13. This is another Delves interior 2-page spread, and this is Thunder Tower by Michael Curtis. And I love the artwork. I have to admit, I picked this one because the artwork, that is a living stew pot, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an animated stew pot, and it's got cool things. There's some goblins that are with that stew pot, and there's a couple of humanoids called boomlings, which are kind of like goblins that make explosions. And then there's also in this one, there's a giant bombardier beetle, which kind of fits the theme really well. And we've got that living stew pot. So as you can see, we've kind of basically taken a couple of the monsters from the 500 plus monsters in the book, and then looked for some synergies to kind of put them together and kind of create an adventure around them. So pretty exciting. We were able to send these out to several authors. So Mike and I just did a couple of them just to kind of round out the book. And that book is going to be I believe it's going to be a 48-page book. So I think we've got 20 delves, try and say that 10 times fast, 20 delves in there, and then a couple of pages on the introduction and kind of how to use the book and everything. So, and then our GM screens are in final layout as well. We have all the material for them, all the game material on the GM side. I don't have any pictures of those. Next time, hopefully I will have pictures to kind of share what those look like, but those are moving along as well. Yeah, so we are Dungeon Denizens and X-Crawl Classics are the next two things off to the printer. So we're getting there. We are getting there. Our next bit of updates is going to be on OAR number, see if I get this right, number 8. Yes, number 8. This is Grimtooth's Old School Traps. So this is one that we crowdfunded last year, last November, I believe it is. And I'm going to show off a couple things. So first of all the traps are done and all of them are converted to both DCC and 5e. They are waiting development and reorganization. When I say reorganization, is we've got all the traps, but they need to be kind of put in alphabetical order and put into all their respective chapters. And then we also have all of the stretch goal traps. We unlocked 10 stretch goals during the campaign, and the trap master Steve Crompton himself actually designed all of them and did the art for all of them. And I'm happy to report all of those are done and have been submitted, and all of them have been converted to 5e and DCC, and those have been submitted. So those are literally being edited right now. Those are the last few traps to get edited. Once we have those all done and we have Dungeon Denizens and X-Crawl out the door, we will be 100% working on this. And this is going to be an OAR book that's more like probably OAR number 1, probably like a 300-page hardcover and not a whole lot of extra stuff with it. So this one's going to be a pretty quick turnaround time to get this one laid out and on the final artwork pieces dropped in and everything, and then out the door. So we're very excited about the streamlinedness of this project. But I do have a couple of pieces of artwork to share with you from Trapmaster Steve Crompton himself. So Elena, if you can pull up number 14. This is the stretch goal trap called Pompeii and Circumstance. And I'm just going to let you take a look at that artwork there. So if you're familiar with Steve's artwork, very comic book style, very tongue-in-cheek, obviously. And you can see in this room, there is actually a mini volcano in this room, and it's set up where the game master can actually trigger. You can see those gears in the middle there, and pressure builds in the magnet chamber. And the game master can actually, he's got a couple of options on how he can release the death in this room, little bursts of lava or full out ash and pyroclastic nastiness, or just have the whole thing just totally obliterate the party by completely erupting. So this is kind of cool. I like the fact that there's a couple different options on this one. It's always kind of neat. So that is that trap. And then we have one more I want to show off. This is the Elena, if you can pull up number 15. This is the trapezoid corridor trap. So this is kind of interesting. If you take a look at this, you can see actually it's pretty simple. It's basically optical illusions where the PCs, when they enter on the left-hand side, they think that the right-hand side is the same scale as they are. So they think that the NPC or the monster at the other end is just a single guard standing in front of a door. As they start moving closer to it, they find out, actually that's a 12-foot, or actually I think it's 8. I think we changed it to 18 feet. I'm not sure. But anyway, as they get closer to it, they find out it's actually not just a human guard. It's like, a cloud giant or something. And then we've got a trigger plate there, and then a vertical wall pops up, basically trapping you. And you can't get back to the original door, which is a classic trope of these traps, is basically you're in a room and you can't get back out of it and everything. So Whole lot of fun. These traps are like I said, just hilarious to read. And we really hope that with putting some game stats to these, that a lot of these are going to get to your guys' game tables, and we're very excited about that. And the other 5e component of this project is the Against the Thieves Guild, which is FEF number 20. I think it's 6. I'm gonna say 6. I'm gonna say FEF 26. I'm pretty sure it's 26. This is fully written and play tested. I've actually play tested parts of it as well. It's been edited, and we are just awaiting to do our development pass and kind of get ready to drop it in. All of the artwork submissions have been made. We do have, if Elena, if you want to pull up, if you have not already, the artwork for that, the cover art. I think you've seen it before. I've shared it before. And that's fantastic Doug Kovacs artwork there. So we're really excited about this. Like I said, I've got a chance to play it. It's essentially, it's a dungeon. It's a series. It's not as tongue-in-cheek as Grimtooth thing. It's a serious adventure. But it features, I think there's 13 traps from Grimtooth's old school traps in there. And I think there's a few other traps and a really, really cool thing called a trap golem, which is really, really awesome design that the author came up with. So very excited about that. So that is the announcements part of the show. Before we take a break, I want to check the chat and see if we got any questions. I see Sleepy Fingers. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Let's see. Why are you late for work today? Had to spray the rust spider infestation. That's a great one. I like that. Yep, Tangaloga. Yep, ate my shoes. Yes, the living stew pot is really, really cool. Yes, and I would love die cut monster tokens. We are doing Max Sterling 89. We are doing die cut monster tokens for this, and we're doing all 500 of them for this project. So yes, if you did not back the project, you will be able to get those at a later date. So we love those too. Anything that we can do to make the experience at the game table better, we are all about. So we are going to take a very brief break here, and when we come back, I'm going to have the Compendiums of Dungeon Crawls, volumes 1 and 2, and I'm going to do a flip through of those so you can kind of see the covers, see the back, see a couple of the interior pages and stuff like that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them. So come right back in another minute or so. All right, we are back, and through the magic of a webcam and a second computer setup, if you could only see what was going on at my desk right now, it'd be crazy. But yes, so I present to you the Compendium of Dungeon Crawls Volume 1 and the Compendium of Dungeon Crawls Volume 2. So both of these hardcover books, you can see they're fairly chunky. You see how thick they are. For scale, let's put there's a highlighter so you can kind of see how thick they are. So it's probably about 3/4 of an inch or so thick. And both books are almost exactly the same page count, which just worked out awesome. So these are reprints of our 5th edition fantasy modules that we have been doing for actually ever since 5e came out, which is 10 years now. And several of them are out of print. So this is basically a way to get them back into print. And then also package them together so that they're a little bit more, quite frankly, financially, achievable for people. So basically, we have volume 1 and we have volume 2. So I'm going to flip over. First of all, this artwork here with Jacusa, the green dragon, half Medusa from FEF number 5. Is amazing artwork. So this was actually created back when FEF number 5, which was the free RPG Day adventure, I think in 2016, I'm going to say. This artwork was actually created and it has sat in our archives ever since. So I am so happy to finally get this on the cover of a book because it is stunning. And I just love it, and it's probably one of my favorite covers. I recall my favorite FEF cover being the dragon turtle. This is probably, I like this one probably better. So really excited that we got to use that. On volume 2, we're using the cover of, it's an eye tyrant. It's what it's called. It's a zombie eye tyrant. Nobody come sue me. And this was the one from I believe it's FEF number 11, if I remember that correctly. So we've got your covers. I'm going to actually move number 2 over to the side. You can see I'm using my Grimtooth book to prop everything up so we can see everything. So here's the back. And there's a couple things I actually want to show you. I actually want you to focus in on. So right now here, this is a Dark Tower, and these 2 books are the first 2 books that we're printing with our sustainability, where we're using the soy ink, and we're using ecologically responsibly sourced paper, which is exciting for us. This is something that we really, really wanted to do. And if you can see, there's a barcode back there. So I'm going to actually do this on screen, and you can kind of see what's going to happen, maybe on my phone. And there you go. If you scan the barcode, it's going to actually bring us to our sustainability updates page. And this is the page you can go check out, and you can see about everything that we're doing to become more sustainable, and trying to help the planet out a little bit. So hopefully we can make a little bit of a difference. So these books retail for $50 each. This one includes 7 adventures in it, volume 1. Volume 2 includes 8 adventures. So it's a pretty good deal. These adventures originally cost either $10 or $11 each. So this is a really good deal. You're getting either 7 or 8. Basically, you're getting 2 or 3 adventures for free. This is the cover from FEF number 1. So we just reprinted that. And down here, you can see, you probably can't read it. It's a good thing you can't read it, because you shouldn't look at that code. So this is your drive-through RPG codes that when you purchase the book, you can get a free PDF of the whole book, which is amazing, because you're going to get all the maps and you're going to get everything else. So can't beat that. And actually, let me scoot this over a little bit more. All right, so we've got our title page here. So on this side, you can see, oh, I lied. That was the cover. That was the cover of FEF number 4. Excuse me. This was the cover of FEF number 1, Glitter Doom. So here's our table of contents. We've got Glitter Doom leading off, which is number 1. That's a level 3 adventure. We've got the Fae Sisters Fate, which is the second one, and that's a level 1 adventure. We have the Pillars of Pelagia, which is level 3 adventure. Warlock, which is level 5 adventure. Into the Dragon's Maw, which is the one that is inspired by the cover. That's the one with Dracusa in it. That's a level 12 adventure. Raiders of the Lost Oasis, which is level 4 adventure. And then Fantastic Encounters, which is various levels. This was our group of kind of like our 2-page delves back, but it was just for 5e, where it's basically each of the encounters is basically a 2-page spread, and you've got your map, you've got your artwork, and then you've got just one fully developed encounter essentially, and they're super easy to just drop into your regular games and everything. All of these 5th edition fantasy adventures, if you're not aware of them, they're all short. Some of them can be played in 1 session. Most of them are probably 2 to 3 sessions. Your mileage is going to vary depending on how slow your characters search every square of every room. But they're all like world neutral, so they're very easy to drop in. Basically, a lot of, like, Glitter Doom, for example, it's in an abandoned dwarven mine. So you just need to have an abandoned dwarven mine in your game, and you're off and running, and you could use it. So these are reprints. So we did a little bit of slight reformatting of these, and we did fix a couple of mistakes that creeped in. Some of them have had additional printing since they were originally printed. I think number 1 and 2 were that way. So you can see we've got, this is the start of the adventure. You've got your general features over here. You got artwork, and then you go right into your encounters. And this is we reprint all of the stats for everything, so you can use this if you're using this PDF. All the stats are going to be there. There's no like bolded go look up a goblin. Nope, we reprint everything in these books so that you have it at the game table. That was kind of our one of our design philosophies when we first created this product line 10 years ago, which is crazy to think that it's been that long. So I'm not going to flip through the entire book, but you can see anytime we got a new magic item, we throw it in a sidebar there. And we got another one there. We've got a couple of monster stats over here. Let's see if we can get to one of the other. Here's actually, so we're closing. There's a Fae Sisters Fate. And there's the maps for the Knuckle Mine, which is the end of the first module. I think it might be cool to show you. Oh, so here's an interesting part. I'm going to jump ahead to FEF number 3. So Pillars of Pelagia number 3 and number 4, which is Warlock by Mike. Both of these adventures were actually kickstarted way, way back. I think it was in 2016. And then we actually are when we kickstarted these, we actually added stretch goal material to them. We basically doubled the size of the adventures, all for the same price. So we have included those additional pages, the basically all the stretch goal pages, in these publications. So you have the full length adventures, which is great. One of the stretch goals in Pillars of Pelagia were these awesome Tome of Horror style handouts where this is a puzzle that you use. You've got some illustrations that you can show off when they enter the room. And some of these were important, like there's an important clue in here that they want to get to. So you can see that. So this was one of the stretch goals. The other stretch goals, we had additional stats and encounters. That's why the encounters are set up. These were where were the additional encounters? They were up. Actually, we split up. Those are the additional encounters there. So yeah, so you're basically getting a little extra module for those. Now the number 5, the Into the Dragon's Maw, that one was a shorter one because that was a free RPG Day adventure. And this is a great one for folks who don't do a lot of high level play, and I understand why folks don't do high level play. It can make your head hurt. This is a great. You can do this in one. It's actually 3 encounters. It's a great one to just take a break and grab some pre-generated characters, which I believe are on our website. You can check that out. And essentially, when I find the map here, you'll see it's basically going to a dragon's lair and beating up a dragon. And of course Dracusa's in there too, the cover of the book. So the female half green dragon Medusa. It's ironic, whenever folks come up and talk to me about this adventure, they never talk about the green dragon. They always talk about Dracusa. Dracusa, so I did not intend it that way, but outshines the green dragon every single day. It's crazy. There you got the dragon kind of sitting on its hoard. We made up our own lair actions and everything, and we even, there's the stat box here. Check it out. That is all of its treasure hoard, starting here and going here. Because if you're gonna do if you're gonna do a dragon, you have to do a dragon hoard. And I mean, and part of the thing, don't worry, there's a whole sidebar on it down here. That's too much treasure. Of course, it's too much treasure, but it's like there's a lot of really heavy things in there. Actually, we added weights of things in there, just to kind of make it really hard for the characters to actually carry all the loot out. So, so yeah, we did that. Raiders of the Lost Oasis. This is the classic. This is the homage to A4, Into the Dungeons of the Slave Lords, where you start the adventure imprisoned and you have no equipment, no spells, no nothing, and you have to escape. So we got that one, and then we've got Fantastic Encounters, and that's those 2-page ones that I talked about. So you can see here I'm back to the rust monsters again. I've got a fascination with rust monsters apparently. And you can see a nice little two-page spread, and these, like I said, these are just great to drop in to anything, and really these were really the inspiration for doing the 2-page dungeon delves for Dungeon Denizens. So it's kind of cool how everything kind of comes full circle there. So we are going to do next a flip through of number 2. We see the back of number 2. It's got a list of all of the adventures. Again, there's 8 adventures in this one. Right, I got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, I can count 8. We've got our sustainability QR code back there. Same price for this one, even though you get another adventure. So I guess if you needed to choose which one, if you choose this one, you're going to get another adventure for the same price. So I mean, that could be something. But I would look at like the levels and the themes of these adventures to see. There's your QR code, not your QR code. There's your drive-through RPG code to get your PDF. And here is our table of contents. So these are for the most part, these are higher level adventures. We have Eye of the Leviathan, which is a level 8 adventure, which you can see over on the other page here. So that is basically a murder mystery in a sleepy kind of coastal fishing village. I was inspired by when I visited Nantucket. one year to actually do my real job. And I was walking around at night on the cobblestone streets and on a foggy night, and it was cool. And I ended up writing an adventure basically about the setting and everything. The Fallen Temple is an Arctic adventure. You don't see too many Arctic adventures out there for level 10, and it's cool. That one's really neat about that one is the fact that there is this extended chase scene where you're being chased by a Yeti. And it's awesome because the author actually set up the chase following all the rules, like from the DMG. There's like a whole optional chase rule thing. It's really neat and something you do. And you're basically on you're on dog sleds and you're trying to escape while the Yeti's chasing you down. Very, very cool. The Castle in the Sky is the homage to the classic basically floating castle. You see that out there by Mr. Bob Brinkman. Number 11 is the Archmage's Lost Hideaway, a level 7 encounter. So that's basically it's a planar adventure. You're gonna do some plane hopping, basically finding an Archmage's hidden redoubt, if you will, and all the awesomeness. And again, that's where the cover was inspired for that. The Eye Tyrant. Please don't sue us. Um, so that is level 7 adventure. The Forgotten Hive, which is a low level adventure, that's for level 1. That is the one with let me make sure I get this right. Yes, the Maltods, which are the elf blights. I believe that's another Bob Brinkman adventure. Then we got Mystery Under the Monastery, which is kind of cool. We've got these another very unique monsters in here called the Geodes. And basically there's an underdark trading bazaar. And then something happens while you're at the bazaar, and then you have to go investigate what's going on. So really, really cool. That was for level 4. And then we got Beneath the Keep, which was another free RPG Day adventure. That one's very short. Easily can do that one in one session. And Beneath the Keep, if you can read between the lines there, it might actually go really well with a certain very famous keep. I don't know. I'm not saying that it is officially a tie-in or anything, but it could. And in number 15th, rounding out this book, is Drowning Caverns of the Fish God, level 10 adventure, which details one of my favorite creatures, the Aboleth, and it turning creatures to slimy minions. Lots of good stuff there. I'll just flip through a couple of these pages here. You can see kind of some of the cool artwork and some of the maps. And you can kind of take a look, see, you can see all the stats. Now, obviously, higher level adventures, some of the stat boxes are going to be a little bit more intensive. So we kind of expect that. But yeah, you can just kind of get a feel for all the different adventures here. I think I might take a pause real quickly here if I can get my book to stay open, to see if we have any questions. No questions? You got to be kidding me. So that's okay. It makes my job easier if there's no questions. So, but if you have any questions about anything, this is the time to ask. And meanwhile, I'll just give you a little bit of a flip through, and you can tell I really like sidebars when I do my writing. I'm not a fan of big blocks of uninterrupted text, so I like kind of calling things out in sidebars and stuff like that. I just think it makes it a little bit easier to kind of, especially when you're running the adventure. I think when you can kind of organize the information a little bit easier to kind of find, and it's cool. So I, the Leviathan, this is my homage to the second part of U1, the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, where you can assault a smuggler's ship. This one happens to be captained by a vampire, so it's a little bit harder of a task here. But I mean, that you can probably see that the layout of the ship looks very reminiscent to the Sea Ghost from which it was heavily inspired by. You can see that we basically we go back to the old tropes, and we kind of like to put our own spin on things, and people tend to get a kick out of that and really kind of like our homages to them. Did some really nice handouts for this one as well. You've got a clue over here, and a handwritten note. And then this is this is the holy symbol that features actually prominently in the adventure. And you can see we have a couple of more clues here for handouts. And I love, again, I'm a sucker for player handouts. Probably one of the things I when I'm going through a development path on an adventure sent in by somebody. It's I'm always looking for opportunities to turn things into handouts. And a lot of times I think the writers don't think it all the way through on how it would be easier if this was a handout. That it would just be easier to understand. And it's like it's hard to give, like, I don't know, like this one on the right hand side here, I don't know how you would give that clue that's not a handout. Or the characters would have to jot all the numbers down as you read them from left to right, which sounds tedious, but it's just a lot easier to photocopy this, and or if you've got the PDF, just hit print, and there you go. And then you just give it to it. Just and it enhances the experience at at the table, I think. This is, oh, I want to show you there's our wonderful Yeti. This is the one with the chase in it. There's a really cool, here we go. So obviously we've got artwork of the Yeti going after the sleds and everything, but you can kind of see here the maps of the chase, and then you can see here at each of the open circles, the large circles is where you have to make a check. And you can see the branches, there's just natural areas. So it was really cool. The author did an amazing job of basically taking an environment and turning it into a really cool chase scene, and making it very compelling, and just it's a whole little section of the adventure here. It's not particularly complicated, but just adds a little something extra to it. It's one of those things where when you're probably, reminiscing about the adventure, you're like, oh, I remember that adventure. It's the one that had the chase with the Yeti, and it's like, it kind of sticks in your head there. So yeah, I mean, there's no need to kind of flip through the whole thing here. I'm gonna just stall for a little bit to see if we've got any last minute questions. But so you can see this book was about the same. These books are both over 200 pages long. I think this one's 188, if I'm not mistaken, and the other one's I think 204 or something in that general area. So you're getting about 200 pages of content in each of these books. So I think it's definitely good to see definitely some really cool artwork there, and some of the new monsters, the Skyworm, and some of these monsters, the Iglardi, are going to be gracing the pages of Dungeon Denizens, because these were all fully developed monsters that we then took and we developed them further. Like for example, the Iglardi, I believe we actually created an additional variant, in addition to the regular ones that we had, and the Aerial Disciple, I believe we added. So I only know that because I was actually reviewing it earlier today. So yeah, so that's what we have. I'm gonna check to see if we have any. Oh, we do. Yes. Missed the Kickstarter. Max Sterling missed the Kickstarter for Dungeon Denizens. Yes. Cardstock Pawns and GM Judges Guild, very nice. I hope I can purchase them too. No, you'll be able to purchase everything. They will be available after. Like I said, we're going to deliver everything to the backers first, but it's eventually they will get there. They will get into the online store and also be available at your friendly local game stores. So yeah, so enjoy that. So with that, I think I've taken up enough time of everybody's tonight. So I'll just do a last couple little flip throughs. Hey, we should see what cool ads are at the back here. Well, that's like legal mumble jumble, so we don't really care about that. We just have a 5th edition fantasy ad here, showing off some of the OAR books and then all the other books as well. So yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this flip through of both of these chunky books, the Compendium of Dungeon Crawls, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And like I said, these are being delivered to backers right now. And they will be available in stores February 23rd. So I believe that is 3 weeks from tomorrow. So yeah, so that's gonna be awesome. Yes, Max Sterling, I just answered your question. So yeah, so they're literally, actually some of the backers probably already got them now, but yeah, if you I'm not sure if you can go onto our web store and actually pre-order them, but if not, you probably can actually at this point, but if not, they will be at retailers February 23rd. So awesome. Max Sterling 89, always good to see new folks in the chat. With that, I am going to say good night to everybody, and I will see you in a couple of months for another episode. So have a good night, everybody.